You guys be careful, okay? Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's going on? Just hearing the news. It's me, Jay. Just checking back at y'all. Just hearing about this news, this crazy news about the Travis Scott concert in Houston, where multiple people are dead and injured. Like 8 people are dead and injured. I mean, 8 people are dead and hundreds are injured. And the videos that are coming out about this incident are really disturbing. Some of them that I've seen about what it was really like when people were getting trampled. Hey Lisa, how's it going? People were getting actually trampled over and over trampling over other people, and dead bodies were just laying there in the concert hall. And as this was going on, Travis Scott and Drake, sad to say, yes, Drake, one of my favorite rappers, as you know. I'm basically a Drake stan in a way. But for this, I gotta call him out. This, for them to continuously perform after this was happening, was just inhumane. I mean, you had dead people just laying there right in the midst of this concert, and Travis Scott and Drake just continued to perform. And in one of the videos I saw, one of the kids was actually describing it as like being in hell. You know, portals actually opening up from the gates of hell, bringing these, sucking these kids' soul into hell through Travis Scott's music. Now, admittingly, as I was telling Lisa, I don't really know that much about Travis Scott. I do know the song Sicko Mode. I know there's other song Highest in the Room. And I know that he is married to Khloe Kardashian. And that could be something that to be looked into, because we all know that Khloe Kardashian and all the Kardashians, to be honest with you, have a curse associated with them. You got people who are associated with them that have mental breakdowns, like Black China. People that are associated with them that go into comas for many years or become crackheads, like Lamar Odom. People like Kanye that have mental breakdowns, that have been with Kim Kardashian. Other people that have had things happen to them that are terrible, that are associated with this very demonic, very influential family. So that could have something to do with it. Honestly, his music is covered with a lot of satanic imagery. As we talked before on this channel about um, how some of the newer music is kind of crossing that threshold where, whereas before rap and urban music really didn't cross that in terms of satanic music. We talked about it before with Little Nas X and the satanic and the drops of human blood with the satanic sneakers. So now we're going into a different sort of territory, whereas in the 90s, you didn't, well, on some DMX albums you did, but in general, you didn't really see a lot of satanic imagery in hip hop and R&B and urban music. That was mostly for rock and roll and industrial type music like Marilyn Manson. And now, as shows become more elaborate, you're starting to see more of that. Like I saw the videos of Travis Scott up there performing, and there was like the lake of fire. You know, the Quran talks about it, the Bible talks about it. The lake of fire, which is hell. Fire was surrounding Travis Scott, so you know what I mean. It was some crazy stuff. So a lot of this music was probably feeding into the demonic frenzy that these kids were in. And another question I have, as far as practicalities are concerned, um, why is a concert like this even allowed to happen when we are coming out of a pandemic. We're coming out of a pandemic where we had to have 6 feet separated by 6 feet. We had to. Um, I didn't see nobody in there. I didn't see nobody in the concert amongst the midst of the people there wearing masks or nothing like that. You know what I mean? I didn't see none of that. So I mean, they wasn't going by protocols. They were completely ignoring a lot of COVID protocol. Like Lisa said, it could have been because it's Houston, but still, they shouldn't have been allowed to gather in this capacity. Live Nation should have did something. Live Nation should have acted in a more responsible way, regardless of the nature of Travis Scott's music or Drake's music or whatever. Still, the practicalities of it. Why were they allowed to gather in such a vicinity like this? There should have been not even so many people in a vicinity like this. They should have did better crowd control. And the thing that got to me it was too was like, okay, yeah, Travis Scott's music might have a little bit of a satanic feel to it, a satanic vibe to it, but it wasn't. It isn't like his music. From what I can gather, from what I know of his songs, is like okay, yeah. Lisa is saying that he don't know. I don't know even if the Kardashian. She said she don't know how long Travis Scott been with the Kardashian, but in 2017, a man was paralyzed drumming on the rails of his concert. So it might not be the Kardashian curse, but it might be though. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't even know if the Kardashian curse is a thing. I know I wouldn't want to be associated with a Kardashian myself, but I just know that it is pretty it can't be all coincidences, at least. I mean, the whole family is associated with misfortune, especially when it comes to how they how they act in regards. Why is all of their mates all people of color? Are they the real? Are they the Kardashians? Are they the real Get Out family from the movie Get Out? Are they? Is that really them? Is that movie loosely based on their reality? Is that what they're doing? Is that what they're on? They probably are on that type of time, to be honest with you. So, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Because you never really okay. Even the guy that was super light skinned, that was the basketball player that was married to Kim Kardashian for like what a couple of hours or whatever, Chris Thompson or whatever his name was. Even he uh was he was light skinned, super light skinned, but he was still a black guy. So um, you know what I mean? Like I mean, have any of them ever dated anybody Caucasian? You know, you know what I mean, or do they specifically just target uh, black families or black people for their bad luck, their bad juju, if you will? But one thing I was saying that was interesting about to Lisa is that I know, yeah, the situation in Houston was terrible. I just think too a lot of it had to do with like people finally getting out and people finally like a lot of pent up frustration of them being, quarantined for all this time and them just feeling like, all right, now we're getting out here, now we're doing stuff, now we're getting energized. And they got energized to a point that it was too far. You know what I mean? And this happens a lot. This happens a lot in Han Hodge. when people go for Hajj to Saudi Arabia in the Muslim religion, a lot of times people do get, you know, people are so fervent to get to the Kaaba to kiss the black stone that they get overly excited. And I'm not saying that this is the same thing as that, but I'm just saying a lot of times people get overly excited, when they're finally, for lack of a better term, they're let out of their cages. You know what I mean? They're finally getting to that zenith point, and they get overly excited and overly zealous, and that can be an issue here. That their emotions got the best of them. But again, I don't see that. I don't see that as I don't see Travis Scott's music in that sort of way. Like a similar incident to this happened. A similar incident to this happened and this is what I would point to any kind. Okay, yeah, I know there's going to be, and I'm always looking on the political tip, right? Hassan Campbell, who's another YouTuber on here, he's on the spiritual thing, and he more so covers it more the spiritual dimensions on here. I'll put a link to his explanation on the description box. But I always look at it from a political standpoint because that's the point of view that I attack it from. And I know the conservatives are going to look at this and say, well, this is why rap is no good. This is why, because they're anti-rap. So they're going to look at this and point to them as being anti-rap. But I will remind you that a similar thing to this, worse than this, happened in 1999 at 1999's Woodstock. And there wasn't any rap there. So just to get that out of the way, this happened a lot in rock and roll concerts in years before, even more so in rock and roll because, again, the music is more hype and the music is more hyper. I don't really see anything in Travis Scott's music, to me, in my opinion, that would get me all riled up, like sicko mode or anything, you know, that would make me want to, be hype. There's even other rap songs that are even more hype than this. You listen to Wild Out by The Locks or Andy Up by MOP. These songs get you energized, and yeah, I could see that really happening in a concert like that with music that's really energized. But in Travis Scott's music, it's kind of boring. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really excite people. I don't know. Maybe he does have songs that are kind of like excitable and you know get into people's heads and get into people's emotions. As far as I guess yeah, the imagery, but I mean, Lisa, they've been accusing Beyonce of that for years, and nobody ever died at a Beyonce concert, as far as we know. So, the creepy Illuminati stuff, you know, I get that. People sometimes do that for a shock value. But I think sometimes, you know, when you, certain stuff you just don't play with, you know what I mean? And um, when you unleash supernatural powers and supernatural elements to it in your music, it's gonna come back and haunt you, and that's what I think happened here. You know, they were saying the kids, some of the kids that died had devil horns in their head. You know what I mean? Like, and they could see hell of fire surrounding them. So when I was a kid, people around me that was Christians and Muslims and stuff, you know what I mean? They always used to tell me that rap music is of the devil and that rap music, just listening to rap music and listening to secular music in general, and would lead me down a path but I didn't want to go because they will always say that secular music is associated with dev- demonic imagery. And as a kid, I just dismissed that as just them just being this was part of their religion that they're supposed to say that. But what's crazy about it now is I think it was lack of security intentional. I don't know, Lisa, because it's black in Texas. I don't know if that's the case because I saw a lot of Hispanics in the crowd. So mostly Hispanics in the crowd. But um, people used to tell me like, oh, music is demonic and stuff, and I would again just ignore it, and I would say, oh, that's just overly you're being overly religious, you're being overly conservative in a sense, mostly conservative. Um, but maybe it's true. Maybe music does have it. Because the thing about music is, unlike any other art. Lisa and I went to an art exhibit, the Obama exhibit, and in visual art, it doesn't. I mean, it touches your emotions if you're into it, but not necessarily that it would touch your emotions in any sort of way, in a way that would make you hype, in a way that would make you sad, in a way that would make you nostalgic, unless you study it hard body and you really get yourself in depth to it. Otherwise, it's just a painting on the wall. Music is different in the sense that music does stir you emotionally. How many times, both positive and negative, have you been to like you've been to um, church and you're listening to music, and all of a sudden that music, that church music, just overcomes you emotionally, and you start crying and you start weeping hysterically. Whereas that doesn't really happen in other forms of art. I mean, maybe people say, okay, yeah, movies, right? But the story, that's because of the story and the dialogue, not necessarily because of the energy. Music itself, even classical music, without words, without lyrics, can move you in a way that other forms of art really can't, in a negative and a positive way. Um, and as far as like the racial component, yeah, I saw a lot of Hispanics in the crowd and a lot of African Americans. So maybe they did just look the other way. That's possible. They said they looked the other way because it is, um, racial minorities stuff, and they really didn't care. That's what As far as drugs, yeah, we got to remember that Houston is the home of promethazine use. Houston music popularized promethazine, the use of prescription cough syrup medication in Sprite, the dirty Sprite, the lean, that a lot of kids are now hooked on. Houston has a high percentage of opioid addiction, and of course, opioids, they suppress the central nervous system, which is the brain, and they also suppress the respiratory system. And a lot of people complained, a lot of young kids that were in the concert complained that they couldn't breathe. And it could also be the political nature of it too, because again, it is Texas, and like Lisa brought up, and other people have too in other videos that I saw about it. Texas is a red conservative state that doesn't believe that COVID is real. So you have all these dimensions. You have the demonic dimension. You have the Kim Kardashian connection that is possibly occultic and demonic and has some bad juju attached to it. You have the racism of the cops and the security team, and you have the COVID irresponsibility. All this stuff snowballed into one, and the negative imagery, the imagery that he puts out that is Illuminati. I hate to use the term Illuminati because that's such an overused term, but you know what we mean when we say that, like devil horns and shit like that. You know what I mean? So all this stuff combined, prescription medications, opioid addictions, the racism, the red state mentality and the devil imagery of it all, and the exuberance that they, like I said, that they might have felt just finally being out there in the world, after months and months of being cooped up. But now, how's it gonna reflect back on the people? Now it's gonna make the haters, the people that are racist, right? The people that are out here saying the code word "Let's go Brandon," which we all know it really means not "Let's go Brandon," but it really means "fuck Joe Biden." They're gonna somehow spin this to reflect negatively on the president and reflect negatively on communities of color. You know that's that's what's gonna be. It's gonna be like, okay, don't go to concerts no more because don't go to rap concerts no more because this is what rap does. This is the cause of rap. Meanwhile, white music and rock and roll been doing this for the longest. Who started the devil horns? Who started the imagery of Satan? Ozzy Osbourne, all the yeah, they can't blame this on Biden, Lisa. I don't think so. Conservatives will switch around and blame everything on Joe Biden because they don't like Joe Biden. So they'll say, well, you got to think like one of them, because you got to, in order to really get into the mind of them, you have to think like they would think. And this is how they'll think. Well, none of this happened this never happened under Donald Trump, right? So that's what they'll say. And believe it or not, look, somehow a song about Cardi B's private parts was turned into a political anthem against rap music by people online, by haters and by racists and by misogynists. So this will be switched around to political dimensions. This will be switched around to racial dimensions. It will be. It will because they turn everything political. Look, we were facing a virus that was killing everybody indiscriminately, right? And they somehow switched it around to some political shit. That's what they do with everything. And haters hate the fact that rap is now the number one popular music on the radio and other forms of music are not popular anymore. So they're gonna somehow switch it around to represent the decadence, or as they say in their words, the degeneracy of the culture. Um, do I think it ruined Travis Scott? Yeah, because he'll forever now be associated as the guy remember that time back in 2021 when he had that concert in Houston? And again, this will reflect negatively on rap. You know what I mean? This will reflect negatively on the whole rap industry as if rap itself didn't have enough problems. You know what I mean? Like, rap has a lot of problems. I'm not saying it don't, but something like this could be used in a way to demonize people. No pun intended. You know what I mean? Because they say they always say, "Oh, rap always glorifies the negative." You know what I mean? Like what they said about Alpo, that it was the rap music and it was the hip hop industry that made him this popular legend and this popular figure of criminality, not realizing that they did that to Al Capone, they did that to Bugsy Siegel. So the things that they do, it's bad when our community does it, but it's good when they do it, and it's bad when we do it, but it's okay when they do it. What I'm saying is they'll hold Travis Scott, and they'll hold Drake to a double standard that they won't hold if this happened at a Metallica concert, or if this happened at a Slipknot concert, or if this happened at a Marilyn Manson concert. They'll completely switch it around. If this were to happen at a Marilyn Manson concert, or this were to happen at Woodstock 99, they wouldn't necessarily blame it on the whole of rock and roll. They'll just say, oh, well, they're just rambunctious youth, like they always do with the riots. People have riots in the city about a hockey game. They say, oh, well, just youth out of control. They have riots about something really important like George Floyd's death. They say, oh, well, look, they're all animals, right? So this will be used as something to strike against hip hop, and not necessarily that hip hop needs to. I'm not saying that all hip hop is good. I'm not saying that the negative energy that possibly exists in Travis Scott's music doesn't exist. I don't really know Travis Scott's music. I do know the videos, like Lisa said, are filled with Illuminati imagery. Now, whether you believe that Illuminati imagery and all that shit is all BS, which we can have that debate. I had that debate back many years ago, back in the day on Blog Talk Radio, my original show on Blog Talk Radio, way back in 2010, where I said a lot of that Illuminati stuff is all hyperbole. A lot of that Illuminati stuff, especially about the Baphomet stuff, is stuff that comes from the Knights Templar. A lot of that stuff comes from anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that were developed during the Middle Ages. That the original Illuminati that existed in southern Germany, was actually a group that was against um, the the consolidation of power of the Catholic Church. And the original Illuminati, was fighting against abuses of the Catholic Church. It was led by a man named Adam Weishaupt in the 1500s. So a lot of that is misappropriated. Um, do I think this will ruin Drake's career? No, this won't ruin Drake because what will happen, Lisa, is that Drake being bigger than Travis Scott, he'll throw Travis under the bus. He'll say it was mostly Travis Scott to say. Because remember, and we talked about this when it came to Diddy and Shine, the little guy of the team has to take the hit, right? He's the crash dummy. He's the one that takes the hit. He's the doja. He's the one out there, and he's the one putting in the work. So the little guy will get thrown under the bus. The big guy won't get thrown under the bus. Drake might take a hit for Live Nation because they're a bigger corporation than he is, but he's bigger than Travis Scott. So Travis Scott will come out the dirtiest, Drake will come out the second dirtiest, and Live Nation will do whatever they can to save their ass. So I think if he has to push Travis Scott in front of him and he has to say, well, let Travis Scott take the hit, then Travis Scott will take the hit. Because Drake ain't taking the hit for nobody. Because he's on another level. You got to remember that Drake has been an entertainer since he's been a kid. He's very well attuned to the way the entertainment industry works on a higher level than just music. Because music is a third tier form of entertainment, Lisa. Movies is the top, and TV is the second tier, and music is the third tier, and then you have um like the lower forms of entertainment, like professional wrestling and shit. But um music is top. Movies is top, and TV. And Drake's been dealing with TV since he was young, so he knows that sometimes you have to push the littler guy in front of the bus, literally, to save your own ass, and that's what I believe he'll do. Um, I know there's a lot of Drake haters. The people don't like Drake, but I just think he's media savvy like that. He's a dude that throughout his career he's figured out a way to survive and a way to transform himself. From the beginning, they counted him out, and then when um um Pusha T made that song about his son, people thought he was done, but then he turned it around with the son thing and made it into a positive. So he'll somehow flip this into a negative, and Travis Scott will take the hit, and automatically Drake will come out looking clean on the other side. That's my prediction. Because I just think he's more media savvy. It'll hit him in the pocketbook a little bit, but overall he'll be the fall guy, and what it will turn into is an indictment of youth culture. What it will turn into is a witch hunt against the music industry and um, against hip hop. You know what I mean? Just like the deaths in the '90s associated, supposedly attributed to gangster rap, turned into an indictment on gangster rap, '90s gangster rap, and not necessarily all led by conservatives either. Sometimes led by liberal entertainers like Calvin A. Butts and um, was that other lady, um, Dolores Tucker, who crucified Tupac. So they'll go out there and they'll crucify Drake for a while, and they'll crucify Travis Scott, and then hip hop will take a hit, and it become a big political issue. And the ones who won't really suffer is the ones who should suffer, which is the concert promoters. The promoters should be the ones that suffer. Why would why would so many people in such a large space at a large time? Don't blame the entertainment and necessarily don't blame the content. I know people want to blame the content. People want to say, and that's what people always want to point to. Oh, the content, the content. But tell me something. Point to, okay, besides the Illuminati imagery, we went over that already. Point to me something in Travis Scott's lyrics that would make a person want to kill another person, a person want to trample over another person. There's nothing in his lyrics that make you want to do that. Sicko Mode, I listened to that song. Highest in the Room, I listened to that song. These are just songs. They're just regular freaking songs. Drake's lyrics, come on. Drake's lyrics are just love songs. You mean to tell me that Drake's lyrics now, there's gonna be um a moral panic about Drake's lyrics and a moral panic indictment on the rap industry, but there should be on the rap industry, on the drill industry, the drill music. A lot of times, I'm not such a big fan of that. I think that, like, the kind of music that disses people like FBG Duck's mother, and that Little Dirk is involved with and stuff. That stuff is more dangerous than the stuff that Travis Scott puts out, which is not necessarily drill. I think drill is one of the most dangerous types of music, and I'm getting on a tangent here, but I think drill is one of the most dangerous types of music that's ever existed in hip hop and any type of music, because people actually die in real life, like FBG Duck, and other people make songs about praising the death of their quote unquote ops, and openly encourage the sort of um, gang banging type of stuff. Not that they haven't ever done it in other types of rap music, but it's just something really sinister about the drill that I just maybe I'm old, but I just can't get into that kind of stuff. Like when somebody actually dies, like Pop Smoke, and people are going around praising Pop Smoke's ops or praising FBG, um, praising the death of FBG Duck or Pop Smoke just because it was a op. The opposition, the other side, the woo and the chew, and all that. And a lot of it, I guess, is media sensationalism too. Not necessarily that it's right, you know what I mean? But you know, it's just something you didn't really see in hip hop before. I think these here I go again, old man yelling at the sky, Simpsons type stuff. But I just think like this whole culture of negativity is what contribute to a lot of this too. The drugs and the and the drill and the glorification of negativity. You know, Travis Scott canceled his music. Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I just think too, like him going out there and uh, him continuously performing. That's fucked up too. I mean, why are you continuously performing and people are in there dying and you're still continue to be up there singing? You know what I mean? But I don't know. Would Travis Scott be considered a drill artist? No, I don't think. I don't think so. No, I don't think he's considered drill. Um, I think he's more like trap. I don't know. Trap is drill is a kind of trap. The drill comes from Chicago. I don't. Uh, I'm just showing my age right now. You know what I mean? But just a lot of negativity in music right now that you didn't really see back in the day. Music should be about having fun, enjoying yourself, having a good time, fall in love with a significant other, things like that. Things that emotions that inspire you to do good and do positive things and not negativity. Um, not making songs about your against your ops or anything like that. But I know people uh, people people glorify that. People glorify gangs and all that, you know, negativity in the trap music. And of course they love that because um they love to see us as people of color. They love to see us kill each other. They love to see organizations that were and movements like hip hop that were made to inspire us as a people and to uplift us as a people. They love to see that. They love to see us kill each other. You know what I mean? They love to see that stuff turned into a negative, like these organizations that we call so-called gangs these days. That really were organizations, really a lot of times to fight against racism and oppression and white supremacy, were turned into negative organizations. You know what I mean? Hip hop music, rap music was created in the Bronx back in the 1970s to unify um, several gangs, gangs in the 70s, so that people can get away from killing each other to the positive stuff. But now they've moved away from the positive and they've turned it into a negative because um, negative forces that are against people of color, that are white supremacist forces, turned what we created into a positive, they turned it into a negative to destroy us. So it's kind of like an autoimmune disease, right? The white blood cells that were supposed to protect your body against foreign invasion have now turned against you and are now starting to destroy you internally. Like For example, a disease like lupus. This is basically cultural lupus in a way. The rap music and the way what rap is turned into and what um the quote unquote gangster lifestyle has turned into. They've switched it around from what we created as a positive to uplift people, especially in in cities like, well, I don't know, this is Houston, but we're talking about a drill. We're kind of off topic here, but cities like Chicago, where drill came out of, a lot of them groups was created out of the civil rights movement. Groups like the El Rukins and the Latin Kings and organizations like that, they were created out of the civil rights movement to uplift the people, and then they later turned into negative organizations. Just like again with rap, rap was created initially again, like I said, in the Bronx in the 1970s to uplift the people. Came out of the Universal Zulu Nation, came out of the 5% Nation, came out of these pro-black positive organizations that were supposed to uplift the people and get away from the gang life. There was like hundreds and thousands of gangs in the 70s in the Bronx that, rightly or wrongly, Africa Bambaataa unified to, instead of making violence, has made music. But unfortunately, all that is now twisted around to a negative. It's going to show you how you can quickly turn a negative into a positive in life. Lisa says instead of rap, it's crap. Um, I think a lot of wrestling fans will remember from 1999, Kurt Hennig had a group called West Texas Rednecks, at least with a song that will probably agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's necessarily crap. I just think it. Um, a lot of these kids are really frustrated. Um, Lack of economic opportunities in a lot of places where they live um, has caused them to lash out. But you got to remember too, and I said this one time too before, that like a lot of these entertainers, like these big time entertainers like Future, I'll use him as an example, or Little Wayne, that's really encouraging these kids to use drugs. Some of them don't even use drugs, and some of them don't even in violence. Some of them not even in gangs. you know, that they encourage the kids to be in, right? Flashing blood sign and flashing um, Crips and everything, and they're not even in those organizations or those gangs, and they're not even out there committing those acts of violence. But what they want to do is they want to sell you that image of being out there committing acts of violence, being out there selling drugs, being out there for the young women out there, being out there twerking and selling your body. They want to sell that image to you because they want you to do that. So they want to sell you an illusion. They want to sell you the fake life while they partake in the real life. Remember, a lot of people ain't 5%ers, but the 5%ers always say that the 85%, the people that are the masses, they buy into the fake life that's preached by the 10%. The 10% of the bloodsuckers are the poor, the slave makers are the poor, the people who buy into all this materialism, all this violence, all this decadence. And the people who could see above that, who could see the forest from the trees, are the 5%ers. And that doesn't really have nothing to do with the group Nation of Gods and Earths. necessarily, but that's just a breakdown of how all things are in life. There are the 85% people who just believe anything bullshit. They're just followers. There are 10% that will lead the followers astray. And then there's the 5% whose minds are awoken and they don't believe anything of that. They don't believe easily what they're told. And they're not there. And I like the 85%. The 85% is easily led in the wrong direction, hard to lead in the right direction. Because they're just the sheep. And I think what, whereas rap used to be the poor righteous teachers, rap used to be, as Chuck D would say, the black CNN, has now turned into um, a tool of destruction, a tool that's going to be used to destroy the people. Anyway, peace to all the people out there. Peace to all my followers. Lisa, thank you for contributing. Love you guys all. Peace.